Your gut is either a pattern or a prison. Make it a habit to ask why. Make it a habit to ask what would it take.
Boom.
Wow.
Woo.
You get to know people from different age groups, especially people that are older, right? They realize that actually, right, most people might end up having a shit life and that's it.
There's actually a part of the brain and it only physically grows if you go through things you don't want to do. And it has never been smaller than millennials and Gen Zs.
What?
Okay, if you've clicked into this episode after seeing the title and thumbnail, you may be thinking there's somebody missing.
Hey.
And you are not wrong. So
Steven is not here.
Steven is not.
Talking about John.
And neither is John. So essentially what happened is that John, Dan and myself actually went for the Steven Bartlett speaking tour that he did in Singapore about a month ago now, so September. It actually impacted the three of us quite a bit. And I think both John Paul and Cheryl wanted to go and didn't manage to make it in the end. So I thought, we thought we'd do an episode talking about what we learned and how it has impacted us.
So for people who don't know, maybe you can introduce him a bit.
Okay, so Steven Bartlett, host of The Diary of a CEO, one of the biggest podcasts in the US and probably around the world.
So he's originally, but yes, in the US as well.
He's a best-selling author. You might actually know him from Dragon's Den, which is UK's version of Shark's Tank.
Yes.
So he started his own company very early on. I think if I'm not wrong, it was a social media company and then he sold that off.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he came from very humble beginnings and he's a completely self-made entrepreneur, like millionaire, multi-millionaire, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's only 32
He's on the young side for
doesn't
sure.
look that
He
young.
started Social Chain at just 22 and became a multi-millionaire by 23.
Wow.
In the span of a year.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. So to actually, I don't know if this will help with the facilitation of actually sharing what he shared, but he actually broke it down into, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 5 chapters almost.
Okay. Because I'm curious to know how he
The
designed
flow.
the show.
Right.
Okay. So the first point in his presentation is essentially about how embarrassment is the price of entry.
Wow.
For a lot of whatever you're trying to build. If you don't know the story of Sylvester Stallone, it starts with like him standing outside, if I'm not wrong, a convenience store, a petrol station, selling his dog.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like a moment where he is so like down in the dumps, right? And then, but at that point, he's not Sylvester Stallone, so people don't know who he is. So with the money, he essentially manages to like write a script and then he tries to like sell this script to people. But the condition that he's giving all these like film studios or production houses that he's approaching is that you have to cast me in the movie. And then people are like, like who are you? Like I don't want to cast a nobody that is you. And like that is where he had, I guess, take shame out of the equation, right? Because he believed in himself so much and knew what he could do and knew that only he could deliver like this script that he has written. Eventually, he took a huge pay cut in exchange for casting himself in a movie. Then with that, with the first paycheck, he buy his dog back.
So what was your personal, I guess, takeaway from this particular story?
For me, it was more of a reassurance rather than a new piece of information, which is that usually when we are asked to speak with students or even like people in the public sector about like how we do what we do, oftentimes the key barrier that stops content creators from actually being content creators is always but I'm trying to get that first piece of content perfect, and they keep trying to perfect it, and it's 2-3 years later and they haven't put anything out yet. And from what we know, put it out first. Like even Mr. Beast talks about how like the first 100 videos are going to have absolutely no audience, but once you get to 100 videos, you're already going to know what 101 video, the 101st video is going to look like, and you're so much better off for it. If like people are giving you shit on your group chat or whatever, they're not going to be laughing when you are a millionaire or billionaire or whatever in the future. So like you have to get through this stage first. If your boys bantering is going to stop you, then a lot of other things are going to get to you in the future also.
But this is for like people jumping into something new, right? But what if there are already people that you can like learn from? So like if there's a new podcast that's coming up, right? Then you go and study other podcasts.
But you study versus to get to the point where now I'm going to put out my own. I think that is the barrier that people cannot get over because they feel like they have to perfect the first.
Yeah.
I see.
I think also like when we use like the Sylvester Stallone story, right? I do think that there is an element of you have to be a little bit crazy though, because you have to have such insane belief in yourself and what you are pushing for. There's so many other layers of things like imposter syndrome or like what if I put it out and then it's just not received by the audience? That's not something that he knows, one, you know what I mean?
But I think that is the point that Steven was trying to get to, because
Yeah.
it is all in your mind. Like, I think I agree that it is true that anybody who is going to start something has to have that little bit of crazy in them. So later on, he talks about how like the key to being a leader is how well you can get people to want to follow you, to want to like join you on this journey, right? And I think one of the crux of that is believing in yourself and your ideas so much, despite what everyone else is saying, which is the shame level, right? For myself, actually, in the recent year, there were 2 instances where I felt like I related to this statement a lot. The embarrassment is the price of entry. So I think one was when I first moved to Purist.
Okay, so I know in the middle episode, but something quite serendipitous happened. So in the previous episode, we were talking about something completely unrelated, and then we moved into a detour talking about like scams, and it actually proved to be quite useful because people DM'd us and said, actually, thank you for bringing that up, because they didn't know that 2FA actually existed on your WhatsApp. So we thought we turned into a segment. I think we had a name for it.
Yes, save our parents.
Save our parents, even though I almost kena many times.
Wait, so it's SOP?
Yeah, because it's such a good name, right? We know that scams can happen across the board, right? I've gotten phone calls, it happens over
SMS, email, Facebook.
I got that.
Nah.
I got
You
that
got
call.
that? You gave
That
them
call.
money?
No, I didn't. Because the person like, hey, Cheryl, you remember me or not? How can you not remember me? Then try to like.
And you know how they do that?
guilt-trip
They guilt-trip
me.
you.
They
Yeah.
put your number onto Pay Now and your name comes up, so they know to call you Cheryl. So that's why you put a different name, like
My partner changed her name to Hee Hee Ha Ha Ho Ho. So, like,
So
Now they're gonna know.
it's to like make it difficult for them to want to call your name. But essentially, it's like, don't go and engage with these people. Don't even try your luck.
Right.
Like, you know, not everyone's gonna make a TED talk out of it.
If it does happen to you on WhatsApp and you get a strange number like messaging or calling you, there is a feature that you can do that actually doesn't just help you, it helps a lot of people around you, and it's called block and report. And I think everyone should
It's
actually
the
try that.
immediate drop down, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can either
That
block
one.
or you can block and report.
Yeah, I
Yes.
usually do that.
Actually, now I think if it's a suspicious number for WhatsApp specifically, they already suggest to you like, you don't know this
Correct.
person, like, do you want to block? There's a red line below their number, and I think if I'm not wrong, there's even like silence unknown callers function
Yes.
specifically for WhatsApp lah.
Yes,
Okay.
and so a lot of people are like, why do I need to block and report? The thing is that what you're doing is that you're helping to flag it up so that other people also won't gonna, like, not everyone as smart as you to be able to detect that it's a scam. So like,
Right.
help everybody out. You're doing a favor because you never know when it might happen to you also. And so other people are also doing it so that it's being prevented for you.
Okay, anyway, back to what we were talking about. When I first moved to Purist, and I think people already have a preconceived notion when they think of health and wellness supplement company, and it's generally not very positive.
MLM.
Yeah, okay, but Purist is not an MLM, just to clarify. But that is the impression I think people do get. And then for me, when I moved there, I think like, at the back of my mind, I think it was playing on my head, even though I don't think I'm like super famous, but I feel like people are watching what Denise is doing next. There was that thought playing at the back of my mind. And then it was like, when I was even debating like, what is the kind of content I want to put myself into? Do I now want to go and like lip sync a TikTok trend, right? Like,
Yeah.
But by right, as part of my job, and I know that this is going to work, that's what I should be doing. Right? But a lot of it was getting stopped by like, oh no, are people going to think this of me or think B of me?
Right.
Sell out.
You know? Yeah,
Right.
like essentially that.
Trendjacking.
Why would Denise like leave the daily Ketchup for this? Like that kind of
Yeah.
impression. I don't know whether people were going to have it. And then funny enough, the second moment was the reverse when I was coming back. Are people gonna think, oh, Denise left the daily Ketchup and cannot make it on her own, that's why she have to come back. So but I also did share on that episode that because right now I'm so clear in my mind, right? What are the businesses that I want to build? What are the steps that I'm trying to take in my career? Like all this doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I do think that's something that was a good actionable, I think, to think about, you know, what are the risks that you want to take in life, was something that my Purist boss, Justin, actually shared with me. So he views all his decisions in life as either a two-way door or a one-way door. So two-way door, I think, as
Reversible.
Reversible. So like, for example, we put our title thumbnail, it doesn't do well, let's just change it. Right? I go and test an ad, it doesn't do well, let's pull the ad, let's
Right.
do it again.
Yeah.
But there are certain decisions in life where it's a one-way door. I submit a resignation, that's okay, maybe a two-way door where it's a bit harder to get back into.
Most things are two-way though.
Correct. So it is the realization of that.
Yeah.
That most things in life are two-way doors.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the idea that like everyone thinks that every action that we do, like, oh, everyone's watching and whatnot, but no one's thinking more about yourself than yourself.
You're the only person paying for the consequences of your actions for the most
Right.
part.
Exactly. And like there are more people regret not taking on something than taking on something. Like you're not on your deathbed going like, oh shit, that was so paiseh. I can't believe
I shouldn't have lived my life.
Yeah. Like, why did I go and
Say
try that
no
business
one,
idea?
yeah.
You know?
I should have earned so much money, damn it.
Yeah. So like just try lor.
So I think that ties well to like the second point with the danger of carrying failure forwards. He was essentially pointing out about how we need to see each failure as its own. And then that does not influence the next failure in a sense. If I'm not wrong, it was his friend, one of his best friends. They were like on a trip and then they went to play paddle together. And then he realized that essentially he was sharing about their paddle ranking lah. And then he said that there was this guy that had gone through a lot more hours of training, but somehow always lose.
He was the worst player.
But this guy is like very technical. He's like tennis trainer. He's blah blah blah. Like because he was coming into it with this mindset that this is who the image of who I am, and therefore when I lose a point, right, then the amount of damage or impact that is to him is a lot larger than if someone else who was a casual player like lose a point.
Steven realized this and realized that whenever he lost a point, he ended up losing a lot of points. And so he actually spoke to the guy and made him realize this. I mean, I'm cutting the story a little bit short, but he actually then became a lot better and then he topped the table after a while.
Wow.
Like long story short lah.
It has to be like a what is it called? Like an athlete mindset kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure they train athletes at the highest level to
Don't
avoid
let
these
a failure
mistakes.
Actually,
Yeah.
very recently, Ronaldo, right? There was a recent match where he missed a penalty, and 1 minute later, he went on to like score quite like a screamer, like outside the box goal.
Yeah.
And people think of like penalty is like a sitter for most people, right? So if you miss that, then usually you are so like panicked that you can't really recover very well. Yeah, but the fact that the next minute he went to score a crazy goal and he still had the audacity to like take that chance, right, was quite impressive. Or like Lance Stroll this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
On turn one.
Or if you look at us, like something people don't actually realize, like sometimes if you've heard of Gravity Media or even like have watched us before, you would recognize us as the Daily Ketchup. But what people actually don't realize, I just did the math because I'm preparing for a talk, is that the Daily Ketchup is actually our 8th media title.
Oh.
Like we have
Is it?
started many went on to be great, like big channels, and then we've retired some, and then some didn't even take off. You know, like we really just try again. And of course, the Daily Ketchup won't be our last channel. We will, start something new again. But that's it. Like everything that we've done is an amalgamation of all the previous stuff that we've done. And like we had to make sure that those failures were all lessons, but we kept it as one individual failure. We didn't then make it feel as though like, we can't do anything
I
else.
wonder if there's a metric, right? I don't know whether you can search this up. Like how frequently should you be attempting things failing lah, I don't know. Or like at what point is it like if you fail like at everything that you try like 10 times a year, then
try
it's like,
something
hey
else.
bro, maybe you are doing it wrong.
Yeah, maybe skills future.
Because we cannot just go and tell people, hey, I mean, we're not telling people anything. This is not advice, okay? It's just our own take on whatever he's sharing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like at what point is it like, maybe don't fail so much?
Maybe it's too much failure.
Like
Maybe
that means
fail
you are
a
not
different way.
utilizing it in the way that you should be.
Allegedly, there is a like build, measure, learn cycle which should usually take about 14 days. Like it loops like 14 days. If it takes
What's that
longer, you are
mean?
testing too big of a hypothesis.
I believe lah, correct me if I'm wrong, is you do the doing, then you do the evaluating, then you learn from that, then you go into the cycle again. So it prevents you from overthinking when you're doing the doing.
Okay.
And then it allocates time for you to review what you have done. What a lot of people end up doing is that in the middle of executing something, they are also trying to evaluate it and like refine, and then that ruins their attempt.
There's also the problem or the case of people taking away the wrong takeaways. So like you fail already, then you think that, this is the reason why.
Yeah, and
then
a
you
lot of
keep
people
failing.
are looking for very quick like success,
Yeah.
right? But actually a lot of things really need time. Yeah, the lessons and the realizations and the stuff you learn, right? You need to put in the hours on. Then things will start to unlock.
Speaking of taking time, the third lesson I think was actually the most impactful for me.
Third?
The Theodore Roosevelt one about
that was my
mindset.
favorite.
Yeah, same.
Share.
The comfort crisis.
Okay, so essentially it was like on Valentine's Day or something. So Theodore Roosevelt actually journals every day and he writes like quite long story one.
Respect. Someone last time is ink.
So then on Valentine's Day, his wife died. And then upstairs, his mother died. Like the same day. That day he wrote in his book, like, all the light has gone out of my life.
Oh
Wow,
shit.
it's a song lyric.
Yeah.
So then what Teddy then decides to do is punish himself. So he goes to journey to this place in America that used to be called the Badlands.
Okay.
What one?
At that point, the lands there were really bad.
Okay.
Predator.
Like the temperatures were terrible, the conditions were just hard. And like he
Like your
just
skin like peeling, that kind of
Natural
The Revenant.
prison.
essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he made himself walk outside for like a specific period of time just so that he can feel so much pain.
Oh my.
Like he just wanted to, he's a masochist essentially, just wanted to suffer.
Like he was like grieving so hard.
So then he was there for like a period of time, I can't remember, like months essentially. And then when he came back, this was before he was president.
Okay.
He came back years later, he then ran for president, became one of the most successful, one of the most impactful young presidents at that time. And when they looked at it back, right, and they actually did a study, I can't remember which university, they realized that there's actually a part of the brain.
Very recent. They only realized this 100 years after he died, I think.
It's crazy. And it actually accounts for mindset. It's the mindset muscle of the brain.
Okay.
And it only grows, it actually physically grows if you go through things you don't want to do.
It's called the anterior mid cingulate.
And he managed to say it 3 times and then ended up calling it the mindset brain because it's just a lot more easier to say as well.
Okay.
And so essentially, you actually see this through like generations that have gone through hardships as well. And it has never been smaller than
Now.
millennials and Gen Zs.
Jeez, that's why you don't want to go gym.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Damn, I have a really small
and so my
mindset.
That's why
mindset
parenting is
also-
so difficult. Now I can blame something else.
It doesn't mean that our generation just has it easy, that people just give them leeway. It's that there's so many things that's so available to us. We're not like, we're hungry, we just order food. We want a car, we just order Uber.
Easy times make soft men.
That's exactly
No,
it.
that's why I'm thinking like, does this has anything to do with like people always saying the younger generations have no resilience?
Absolutely, grit and resilience. Like you look at the previous generation, like even in Singapore alone, they had to go through so much, like wartime, right?
Building the
Or
country.
building the country, fighting for jobs, like
independence and all that.
But there's such a big question of need or not. You know? Like there's a reason, like we develop, we evolve, and we build these things so that you don't have to suffer in the cold lah. You have warmth at night. You have a comfortable bed to sleep. You don't have to deal with the harsh environment. There's shelter.
But
Absolutely.
then the problem is that we are now building a generation that will not know how to solve the next generation of problems.
Or when a problem enters and then crumble because there's no resilience, no grit.
So it's different lah.
Because the problems are always going to rise. In fact, it may even escalate given the proliferation of social
Right.
media, of the internet, all this.
Which is why a lot of people say like companies that are generational, right? Like you pass down to your next generation, usually dies within like 3 to 4 generations.
Wealth as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we build our brain to respond better to doing something that we don't want to do?
I came across this somewhere, but it's when you truly find something you desire or you prioritize, the work needed to achieve it does not feel like suffering anymore.
Do what you love, you wouldn't have been working a day in your life, like, essentially.
Ish lah.
But if I do
along
that, then
those
am I
lines.
building my anterior mid cingulate?
Isn't
I
that
don't know.
taking
I don't know how it
easy,
works. That's why.
Cortex.
Like, do I actually have to do something that I absolutely
Like, because
don't
if
want
now
to
I
do?
like it, then this part won't grow, ma. I thought that it was interesting that there was a physical, like, that there's an actual part of your brain that physically grows. When
Yeah.
It's not just you are, like he said in the show, you are literally built different.
Wow.
You are literally built to respond better to doing things that you don't want to do.
It's not like, for example, it's I don't like to go to the gym, but I know what it will get me.
Get you?
Yeah.
That part of your brain must be so big, yeah.
Anterior
No,
mid
but it's
singular.
not. It can be bigger.
Oh, that's one muscle we know.
That's a gym junkie thing to say.
So does that mean that when he goes to the gym, he's building up his anterior mid singular?
Yes.
Wow!
Yes.
How do you get that? No, that's why it's massive. Like compared to mine.
Like
And we're
before you
talking about
started
the brain,
going to gym and now like your head. Like,
Wow. Hey, your head tight.
Oh, yeah. Your glasses, the line a bit like
Cannot.
squeezy. Yeah.
Then the
Because it's this part of the brain. It's really the sides here.
So another battle that I've fought with before, right, is how do I know if I'm tahaning for no reason? Like I'm just being like in this space, right, where I'm uncomfortable and not uncomfortable enough. And I'm actually just a very weak person. That I'm not strong enough, I don't have enough willpower, whatever it may be, to change my circumstance.
I think that awareness puts you ahead of a lot of people already. Unless to you it's not about relative, it's about relative to you yesterday. It
yeah.
depends what you're looking at.
What if everything is shit?
No, which is honestly another layer of this, because right, I start to notice through all the different generations, and when you get to know people from different age groups, especially people that are older, right, they realize that actually, right, most people might end up having a shit life, and that's it. Eh.
Oh, absolutely.
let me ask you a question then. If you now know that you are in a computer simulation, does that change how meaningful your life is?
If that technology exists, that is probably its purpose. It's for you to experience a life. There's an episode of Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Where it's in an arcade and the game is just called Barry or something like that. He puts it on and then he actually experiences an entire life as this guy. From being a baby, meeting his loved one, getting married, having children, losing his dad, deadbeat job, on the deathbed, losing his wife, him finally dying. Then after that he get unplugged and he's like, it was 7 seconds. And he's like, what the I just experienced everything. There's so much depth.
Yeah.
If that is the case for this, then it's just one way of us being able to experience and take away these things. So like in the Matrix also, right? Like they developed technology for me to let me instead of you having to spend years mastering a kung fu, I can just upload it, right? It's something like that, I would think.
So doesn't that answer your question of like, at what point do I deal with, like, do I accept the cards that I've been dealt versus a constant pursuit of like being never enough?
I don't think those are the two ends of the coin. I think it's more of where and how much can you push yourself in the various directions, right? To truly are. I think that's the whole point of life
But
for me.
Isn't that a circular argument? Because then who you really are is constantly being built by who you are. Like on your journey of trying to figure out who you are, it's like this.
Because you can just do nothing and that's who you are, ma.
Is it?
But it's a circular, like going up the hill.
It's like a magnet that every time you try to pursue it, it's just going further. Technically.
I actually disagree that like there needs to be a point to why I am doing this hard thing. Like I think it's just about proving to yourself that you can do it. And that is the encouragement that then fuels you for whatever you want to do in life. So if I take a bit of a meta step, right? Why I went for the show is because we tried to reach out to Steven Bartlett's team to obviously invite him since he's in Singapore, right? But then he didn't have time to come on the show. And then on the morning of the show, I was like reading reviews and I actually saw this lady say that she went to one of his shows and she saw someone else during the Q&A section, right, ask him, can I meet you after the show? And then sure enough, right, he got his like security and bring her like backstage to go and meet him and talk to him because she asked.
Wow.
Like just purely that really like stood out to me. And then I'm like, wait, if he doesn't come on the show, then there is also a chance that I can literally go and I can get the chance to meet him. And then when I went there, I was very diligent to fill up the Q&A part. I tried to ask a damn good question. I asked ChatGPT to restructure for me and whatever. Then I submit 3 questions. Anyway, in the end, he didn't pick my question. But and I was telling myself, right, that if I was psyching myself up for it during the Q&A part, that if he were to pick me, then I want to have the courage to ask him, I want to talk to you after the show. So then in the end, he didn't pick me. And then halfway through, I was asking myself, like, am I going to be disappointed at the end of this show if it was the case that I didn't get to speak to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I did, then it proved that, okay, I can do whatever I set my mind to, right? But then I think it was purely the fact that I was courageous enough for myself to put myself in a situation where I could possibly get there. I think that was the mindset shift for me. That proved to me that like, even if I don't get to certain places, even if there isn't really a end game or a reason that I'm trying to get to, the fact that I can attempt certain things or that I can push the envelope further than anybody around me can, right? Like that says something about me, I felt.
Which is a beautiful segue to the next part of his talk, which was about paper walls and about how we actually create all these fake limitations in our head. When in actual fact, you just had to ask a question and then achieve what you wanted, which is this person actually asking, can I meet you? And him saying yes, and you realizing, wait, what the hell? I could have just asked in the first place. I believe it's called pushing on paper walls, if I got that right.
The analogy is that from very far, right, something looked like a wall. Then after that, got one person, everyone feel like it's very impossible. I can't get over this. I have to find another way around. Then just one person went up and then he pushed and the wall like broke, like essentially or fell. Then he realized, the wall was made out of paper. And it literally just took one person to go up there and like push on it and then they realized. But most people would not have even walked up to it. Yeah. And then the example that he gave was essentially that he has like an editor, then it takes them like a week to like animate something, blah, blah, blah. The advice that he gave was make it a habit to ask why, make it a habit to ask what would it take. So essentially he was wondering like why certain things are like taking a bit longer and then like is it possible to do it faster? Then he asked the person like, what would it take for me to be able to have this in like 2 days? And then right, the answer his editor gave him is like a new laptop. Then he's like, what the hell? I'm a multi-millionaire. I can buy you a new laptop. It's like $2,000, right? So then he got him a new laptop and then problem is solved. Like the bottleneck cleared.
Yeah. Like the two other examples was that he was staying in a hotel in Singapore and then he went to the buffet line like at 10:05 and then he went like, can I have the breakfast? And then they were like, no, it's 5 minutes past. But then he sees all the food like lying around there, still not eaten. So he just said, what would it take for me to just have that mango or whatever? And then the person went back and then said, oh yeah, you can have it. That's like a lot of people would have just given up by then, but it's a paper wall. And the other one was that he had a colleague who was basically calling about some insurance or like some phone line they had to like change or something along those lines. And then they said, oh, you can only do it in like 30 days. It will take 30 days, but the guy needed it now. And so he literally just said like, what would it take for it to happen now? Then the guy went check with his manager and said, oh, actually, yeah, we can just do it now. So like there's so many things that are because of legacy, there are processes that mean like this thing takes this amount of time. But actually, if you just ask, what would it take?
It's like a no harm asking thing, simply put lah.
Actually, I can do it in like a shorter period of time.
Don't try, don't know.
After the show, then we were like kind of joking. We said we go back, everyone's timeline gonna get cut into half.
No, but the funniest thing was that we were all walking out and there's a giant crowd and they're all trying to get down this like escalator and we were literally at like the 7th floor. So it's like 7 flights of escalator and everyone just bottlenecking, right? And then we literally see this wall and there's like a vague outline of a door. But then like, I think we were like, what would it take for us to just like take the stairs? Because we don't know whether it's locked maybe like for this event or whatever. And then like Denise just opened it and then we was like,
nice.
So we just took the stairs and we beat the entire crowd because we literally pushed a real wall, but it happened to be a stairs.
The twist at the end was after we go back, I realized my bag inside the cloakroom.
She had to go back.
Thankfully, Dan was nice enough to wait for me and give me a lift home.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you asked.
Yeah. What would it take for me to go back?
That's why now I brief say every time I need a lift home, I'll just like, oh, can you give me a ride home?
So on the note of wrong takeaways.
She abusing.
When John and I finished the talk and he asked me like what was my favorite takeaway, actually I said that I realized that I'm guilty of this. I am the person that's putting up a lot of walls because there will be people who like John Paul actually would just say, hey, how about this idea? And I will usually be the first to go,
cannot lah.
No one does that. Or like,
No, that's me also, especially when we do client work. Like I'll say, clients say they want this, clients say cannot. But actually a lot of times that we realize, especially when we get to speak directly to client, right? Actually chill.
Yeah. And a lot of people just like, so they might be intermediaries maybe or whatever.
Lost
that we're
in
just
translation,
assuming,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, or sometimes we might have a guest and they might have a secretary or they might have a publicist or whatever that will assume that this guest does not want to talk about things. And so we're all putting up all these paper walls when in fact like there's none of them.
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard about this also, but there is this kind of like the type of people you want to hire versus the type of people you don't want in your team.
Yeah.
The kind of people who are trying to figure out how to make things a yes. I think it's like a Google thing or something, right?
Also, it's yes man, but like a positive twist.
It's like, don't tell me how I cannot get this done. Try and figure out with me how to make it happen.
It was one of the big like FANG companies. I think
it's Google.
As a manager, if I'm not mistaken, right, you have to say yes, and if it's a no, you have to come up with an entire like essay to justify why it's a no. So most people just end up saying yes, but within reason. So if it's a really, really bad idea, then it will really be a no.
Okay, so I got one that is
Accepting
I have a paper wall. So I've been training MMA and I'm starting to take it a bit more seriously as of late, right?
Can tell from your t-shirt.
I've told myself that I don't want to compete in a striking like match or something like that. Matchup.
What's a
because
striking
I've like that means like any
like
fight
hit.
that has like
punch.
like striking.
Then how's that a fight?
So
You can
there's
strangle
grappling.
them.
You like to hold. You want to hold.
No, so the thing for me is that I'm not sure whether me not wanting to compete in a striking like competition or whatever is a paper wall, because I'm telling myself it's my age, it's the injuries, it's the me not being able to or never going to pursue this like whatever kind of thing, like, you know.
Actually, I feel like you already pushed past the first one.
Yeah.
Because the first one was, what would it take for me to be able to participate in a fight? And then that was the first paper wall. Because at first, maybe I think most people that train MMA, they wouldn't even think like I'm training to participate in a fight. Or at this age, I'm not going to be at the level of other people that are at my age but have trained for 10 plus years, you know. Then I presume because it's a progression, right? So after you've done the grappling, there probably is going to come a time where you are like, okay, since I've done the grappling, what would it take for now me to go and do the striking? You know? Like, is it just like finding a very specific fight arrangement
Yeah.
such that you avoid the highest risk things that you are afraid of? And then after that, then there's the next paper wall law, Yeah, so I think the lesson is that the closer you get to the paper wall, the more you realize it's not a concrete wall.
Right.
That's the part that I kind of understand already. The part that is still conflicting is that how do you know when you're not making the right choice? No, I'm being sensible. If it's a concrete wall, I'm going to smash my head into it, lose a few teeth,
One of my favorite books, which is Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. And that book that came out like 20 years ago was about how you should really trust your gut or your instincts, because your gut is an amalgamation of all your experiences that you have had throughout your entire life. So even though it feels like you had it in a split second, it's actually your amygdala that is actually your flight and fight that's actually coming and saving you or actually telling you to do this. So you trust your gut instinct. And something that they actually found out through his sharing was that it's not always the case. If you happen to be someone that is very experienced,
then you should trust.
And you are an expert in that field, then your gut instinct actually makes sense. Because you've gone through the years of knowing what's right and wrong. However, if you have absolutely no experience or you're not skilled or an expert in that field and you have a gut instinct, it's most likely going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
but some
don't
people are
trust it.
blind to this, I feel.
Yeah.
Like they completely think that it's a gut feeling thing. Then they just go with it.
But wait a minute.
No experience, nothing.
I think that's why he brought it up. Like the line that he gave was, your gut is either a pattern or a prison.
Boom.
Wow.
Woo! Science proves that your first instinct is usually right, except if you have an area where you are failing repeatedly, then your instinct is actually a prison. Usually the first assumption is that it is a pattern. The second, if you realize that, oh shit, I keep following my gut and I keep losing in this area, then you're like, okay, now I should go anti-gut.
Yeah.
So then he says, stop relying on your prefrontal cortex to think about things you shouldn't be thinking about, because sometimes your subconscious mind knows better.
In fact, because I did a semester on neuromarketing lecturership, it was only for 3 months. It was that if you actually find someone who plays tennis regularly, right, and has a really good serve, they do it out of instinct already. Like it's part of the amygdala that's why it's happening. But how you throw them off, right? So if you're playing against a really good tennis player, you actually ask them to think about their serve. So if they actually start thinking about how high they toss the ball or how they swing or at what point they swing, right, it throws them completely off, because if their prefrontal cortex that actually starts thinking about the serve. And so it's no longer practice, it's no longer muscle memory, it is they're over processing now.
Damn.
And then they throw them off.
I figured this out also recently because when I started learning guitar very long ago, right?
It's very good.
0, 2, 2,
the
0,
numbers.
3 or something like that. Then okay, the next chord 0, 3, 2, 0, 1, like right?
Yeah.
So then when you think of that, right? So you are playing 0, 2, 2, whatever. You're playing E minor. Then okay, now I need to change to a C. Okay, change. I'm going to press and then press. Then I continue. Then you miss the timing already. Then after a while I realized, okay, I know the shapes of the 4 chords. When I'm playing, right, I'm just going to keep to the timing. And then right, when the time for the change comes, I'm just going to whack the pattern. Then after that, I realized that there are 2 approaches that you need to kind of sync up and play with for you to then land that pattern. And now it's the same thing. Like when I'm learning like let's say like jiu-jitsu or whatever, right? Getting from position A to position B, you will break it down into step 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 until you get to the position 2, right? Then you realize that you have to break it down in steps, but when you're actually doing it, right, you have to whack and try to get there, scramble a little bit.
You have to feel. And it's the same. I'm sure you notice it in golf also. If you overthink your swing, you end up
correct.
with the
Sometimes
muscle
you just
memory.
have to go there and then sing song.
While
you sing song, then your shot is so nice. But if you think okay, I need to do this, my shoulders need to confirm the ball flight elsewhere.
That's why you are practicing.
Yes.
Then when you are actually executing that time, right, it's more of just they talk about getting to the flow state or this. It's just getting to that state where you cannot be thinking about what you are doing. You need to really just trust it.
Let me bring this to the last example that he gave. Which actually was a very interesting story. So he said that there's this university, right, in the US, I think one of the bigger ones. There's a lecturer that at the end of every sem, she will give the same assignment, like the same final assignment. And that is, she groups people up and then she'll pass all of them an envelope that has $5 inside. And then she'll say at the end of 2 weeks, I think, or the end of 1 month, like whoever makes the most money wins the challenge, and like they get all of them, the whole team will get A. So then people essentially go and like find, I guess, like small product, then they sell, then see how big they can change the money.
Lemonade
Then they have to do
car
a
wash.
presentation on like what they did, how they grew the money and everything. And then there was this group that didn't even turn up, then they won. What happened was that they didn't even take the $5 to use. So what they did was they actually went to, if I'm not wrong, companies that would recruit from universities, like looking for fresh grads, that kind, right? Then they sold them slots as part of their presentation time to go and promote their business to the students for recruitment. And then they actually made the most money from that because they lined up like quite a few businesses. Like, then they didn't even need to do the presentation. And so essentially the moral of the story is like the moment you accept a given framework, right, you limit your solutions. The challenge was not about the $5. The challenge was about use everything that's outside of what's given to you. So like their presentation time slot, like the fact that they had a group, then they can like split up and go and find different people.
In applying the gut feeling thing, right? Trusting my gut based on my past experiences accumulated in life. My takeaway from that is pick good group mates that will come up with the idea that then I use them to.
But yeah, so it's essentially like, are you too like zoom in to like to see the full picture? Or are you too focused on the wrong thing? So the example, which actually brings us back to quite a full circle moment, he shares about how he started his company. And so he shares about this guy who like wanted to create a website where it was a message bulletin board for universities. And then he like built Facebook groups, and then it was quite active. Then now he's like, okay, I built a website, then I put the link into the Facebook group. I asked people, go to my website now. There's a website for this. Nobody want to go. So then he keep trying different ways of marketing, blah, blah, blah. Then nobody want to go. Then in his mind, he wanted to be the guy that started a tech startup and had a website, and then he sell it, versus this guy like runs 10 Facebook groups. So that was what he was very stuck in. And then eventually either a friend told him or he came to the realization that why not just do whatever he's trying to do on his website within the Facebook groups, because people are so engaged there already. Then he essentially did that, and that grew into Social Chain, which he then sold.
And then he revealed that it was him. So like you can imagine like you were talking about this story and then that's me. Then like wow. Because he started getting the name wrong, like Cliff and Chris and don't know. Then we all realized that, hey, how like is all the stories fake? Then we realized, because it's a fake name.
Yeah, and then the secondary takeaway that he gave from that was he needed to learn the difference between winning and being right. He felt like it was important for him to prove that his idea was right.
And that kept him from winning. And he's saying, pursue the win, not being right.
That was easy lah.
But easier said than done though. It depends whether you want to allow the results to win or the ego to win.
The only reason why people are attached to their ideas is because of ego.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yeah, but it's hard to let that go. Like you are blinded by it. I mean, a lot of people are blinded by it.
He does talk about ego. He spoke about the things that makes most people move, which is rise. So spies use this framework is reward, ideology, coercion, and ego.
Okay.
Most of us would not need the C.
Like CIA, spies.
Yeah, we would.
Not
Most
Dune
of us
spies.
wouldn't need the coercion part lah. So most of us would rely on ideology and ego to convince someone. Essentially, he said remember earlier we mentioned the most important thing for success is your ability to persuade people to come with you. Yeah, and then he shares a story of this spy that the US or Russia tried to convert to be a double spy for them.
He was a Russian military person.
And they offered him like endless amount of money. Then like he refused to like sell his country out, Then in the end, it turns out his father always wanted him to be a colonel in the army, but then he was not that. And then his father got a lot of disappointment in him. So he actually just wanted like the rank. Then they give him. Then he like, sell out. And he became one of the most actually important spies, I think, for the US, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so essentially he was saying that like if you can get to someone's like ideology, like what actually makes them tick, right? And then know how to get rid of their ego, like what is the point that they are very stuck on based on their pride, you will be able to convince anyone.
And this came from his series of interviews with I can't remember his name, but like there was this CIA spy that actually like retired already and shared quite a lot of stories. And it was the fact that he has countless of informants who they offered millions of dollars and just wouldn't twist. And then once you get to ideology, they just do it for free.
Wow.
Yeah, and he actually said that most people think what makes people tick is money, but you don't realize that money is a proxy for status and status is a proxy for survival.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
understanding that will help you get to the baseline of their ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So since I didn't get to ask Mr. Steven my very great question that I crafted for very long before the show.
Ask it here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And hopefully he responds.
Oh,
No, I want to ask you all to answer.
okay.
But I mean, obviously your answer not going to be as good as his last one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For him specifically, like he speaks to so many people and he learns like everything that he say he learned, right? He say is life-changing. Then at some point to me, it's like, everything's like life-changing, then it loses its meaning, right? So I was wondering whether there was something that he had learned that was very valuable to him in one season, right? That he later on had to go and unlearn. So I wonder if like for you, right, has there been something that's like that? Because to me, right, I think for me, myself, it was elitism. Like I think growing up, elitism did me a lot of good in terms of like I am the best in my class, hopefully for this certain thing. I think it helped me a lot like academically to go to the schools that I went to and therefore make the connections that I have today, right? But then after that, as I learned the world, and I learned that, I cannot be so sheltered and there are like diverse like viewpoints, diverse people and everything. And then that was something that I thought like set me up for a lot of success. I then had to like unlearn in order to make it further in life, right? So I thought that was actually like that stuck out to me.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So one of the things that I recently was like chatting with a friend about is like expectations of people. If I don't expect, then I will not be disappointed.
That was your original thought.
Correct.
Okay.
But then the challenge to me then, like within that conversation was like, you cannot think, like you shouldn't think like that because we're not created or we're not built to like doubt people or to like be bad. We're created to be like completely good with each other. Unfortunate thing is that in society we have grown so that like you may face disappointment, but it's not supposed to shape the way that you still behave or like treat people.
So they might disappoint you and let you down, but you should still treat them
The
best.
same.
Yeah, correct. The way that you
I
behave.
suffer from this. Like when someone lets me down, I really treat them quite differently.
Like, you are.
I'm kidding.
I feel like mine very simple. Mine is like emotions, bad. Logic, objective, witty, good. Then after that, then it's flip.
Oh, so now you
It
think
shows. It shows.
now you think objectivity bad and emotions good.
Objectivity doesn't exist.
Wow.
That's life changing.
That's so subjective.
Just as a reflection from I think like 2 years ago or something, like it was a New Year's resolution which was like to say yes to everything. And after the year after that, I realized wow, saying yes to a lot of things really helped me. And then now I realized like when you obviously have new priorities in life such as family, child, saying yes to everything just makes you extremely exhausted and you don't have time and energy to dedicate and be the best possible version of yourself in every single thing. So saying no is actually very powerful.
Then why you keep saying yes to magic nights?
That's what I want to do.
Oh my God, I'm the reverse of then. I feel like there was a season where everybody was romanticizing saying no. And then now is the reverse.
It was a TikTok wave, right?
Yeah.
it's a
Like now I
cycle.
find myself wanting to say yes to more and like live more life essentially. But that's also the stage that I'm in.
Yeah. I think it
which is
depends on
different
life
from
stage.
which is different from then. And I feel like it also adds to the show. Like the fact that we went for this show, now we have something to talk about in a sense. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we kind of went quite all over our mind tunnels today. I hope that you did take away something for yourself. I'll be happy if you share it down below, you know. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In the comments.